Good morning. So, I don't know how this is going to work out, but here we go. I asked God, what's a good topic for this morning? And he said, chivalry. I'm like, really? He's like, yeah. So here we go, chivalry. All right, so chivalry has come under heavy criticism by feminism, and this is interesting. I guess there's some good points there. So I'm thinking instantly of chivalry in the old English knights and kingdoms and stuff like that way. First and foremostly, as you know, the doors are 100-pound solid wood that are not easy to move because you don't want people breaking into your house or castle. So the guy always opens the door for the lady, and then that became a sign that you were respecting the woman, just in much the same way that shaking hands showed that you, clasping hands, showed that you did not have a weapon in your hand. And it just became codified, became habit. When the need for such cultural structures went away, the practice did not die. Now, the idea, however, the general idea, not those specific practices, but the general idea, I believe, is that there happens to be some people, unfortunately, who are less than. Yes, I'm not saying because of their race or their skin or their culture or any of those reasons, although not necessarily at least, but we do have to be able, I'm not saying it's the case, but we have to be able to recognize when genetics make someone more powerful and when they make someone less powerful. And we need to recognize when someone has a high IQ and when somebody has a low IQ. If we are saying, no, everyone is equal, which we should treat everyone as equal. That's kind of what chivalry is in some ways. It's the strong helping those who are weaker so that all can be equal. Because in nature, there, it's red in claw and tooth, right? It's survival. Now, okay. We know now that there are structures in nature that are non-rivalrous. They're rare, or at least we haven't understood them well, and therefore they seem to be rare. So far as I know, they still seem to be rare. But there are huge networks of interconnection that are not 100% rivalrous, right? And it's like, okay, I'm going to kill you today, but tomorrow I'm not going to because, shoot, man, everybody's got to live or everybody dies. I mean, that's literally, I think, there are learned behaviors in nature because if learned, I mean that in a genetic way, that those genetic societies, if you will, of many animals that survive because their genetics are well suited for each other. Those genetic societies, I just made up that term, by the way, just because it seemed good. Well, they only survive if everyone helps each other survive, and then you have the predators preying on those who are weaker, allowing the stronger to become stronger, and then the predator has to be stronger, and you get more and more specialization in the genetic code itself, as well as in epigenetic systems. Okay, so backing up, hooking that into chivalry, we need to create a human society that recognizes not only the weaknesses within our human society. We've decided this, right? Largely, I think, because of Christianity, though I'm not going to shortchange Christianity's bastard child. Sorry. But I think it's somewhat accurate. Christianity's bastard child, atheism, and humanism. These are structures that very well might have evolved on their own. We don't know that for certain. But Christianity, I think, certainly pushed people past the position of, okay, it's survival, and if you're weak, too bad for you. I really do think most societies were all about that, or at least they did not have the resources to go beyond that much. And then Christianity was like, you know what? Doesn't matter. I'm gonna be in heaven anyway, so I'm gonna give it my all, dude. Now there's a whole concept I guess I'll go ahead and introduce here in order to mediate how far Christianity must self-destroy, so to speak, self-damage, in order to still be still be Christianity and still be alive, right? So I'm going to shut that off. So the idea here that I'm trying to get my brain to engage with, balance. So there is a sense in which I think Christianity only functions correctly when but there's an example, or there's a exception I haven't quite worked out. Okay, so I think in Christianity you have to be this kind of person who, when they give their all, they are not in turn burdening others. So you can't be like, I heard a story of a guy that bought a piano to give to the church. There was a guy that couldn't afford it, but they had heard this story: if you give God a little bit, God will give you back a lot. And so he took it literally. He didn't think it through. He just bought a piano on credit, gave it to the church, and God didn't provide him with the means paying for the piano. So they had to take the piano back. That's a little bit of a funny example, I guess. But another example is if you give away your house and now your family's homeless, right? I don't know if anybody has ever done that, but I mean, there are structures. If there is a structure in place that allows you to land on your feet with very little weight, well, where your weight is distributed over enough backs that it doesn't matter, and the sale of the home definitely makes up for it, because everybody is all hands on deck, everybody is fully engaged in their tasks, and the social structure is such that selfishness is not overly rated by that society, then that could work. The question is your social structure built that rigidly, that well? Mine isn't, at my church, I know that. We're just barely scooting through. If somebody sells their house to give to the church, everybody's like, dude, why did you sell your house? Okay, but this is about chivalry. Okay, so the generic concept of chivalry, to try to sum this up in the next 2 minutes, the general structure is that chivalry is the giving of yourself, your resources, including your own strength, to others in order to, if you will, work overtime in the effort to lift all boats, lift all weights, bring all situations as high as we can, so that we're all working together. That's the idea of chivalry I want to bring forward, not the idea that we have to say, because you're a woman, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z for you because you can't possibly do it for yourself. That I can see where that became a symbolic structure of oppression. I do think that's true to some degree. I don't think it has to absolutely be true, but there's something to that. But in a society in which the woman says, you are honoring me with this. I am not a woman as the woe in woe man is an honorific, I think. It's not saying you are less than man. It's saying you are different, definitely. You can produce kids with your womb man, but that doesn't mean you're less. In some ways, you're more. In some ways, you're more. In some ways, you are more worthy of protection, because any guy can get you pregnant, but only you can produce the kid. And there are other, of course, that's not the only worth of women either. Okay, I think I have to wrap this up. I wasn't intending this to be a full defense from feminism of this concept, so I'm not going to try to make it that. Suffice it to say, my idea here is that chivalry is something we need as the proper recognition, not of inequality in the high-minded sense, but inequality in the natural sense. We are equal ethically. We are equal in value, but nature has cursed us with inequality in the real world. And chivalry is about correcting nature, I think. I think that's what the general idea is about. Okay, thank you.